Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lisa Mangione, and we are going to have a little change on the agenda today. Our guest speaker has to leave a little earlier, so we're going to start there, and we'll skip our soft opening and do something at the end. So, Bert.
Will you stand, please, and join me in prayer? As we gather today to celebrate our commitment to service through Rotary, we give thanks to you, Holy One, for all the blessings you provide for us. Family, friends, food, fellowship. May we continue to appreciate these not simply as benefits for us as individuals, but as opportunities to make our community, our nation, and our world a better, safer, and more secure home for all your children, as we seek to fulfill this year's Rotary theme, to create hope in the world. Amen. It's been a while since I've done this, so there are new people, so I'm having to give the reminder that in saying the Pledge of Allegiance, you probably learned it wrong in school. There is no comma after nation, so say it with proper punctuation. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated.
It's always a challenge following the comma, please. But today, y'all are in for a treat. Today, I'm honored to introduce Megan Rygiel, who is president and CEO of the Peace Center. Megan's been with the Peace Center for almost 40 years, or 30 years longer than some of you have been alive. Over her tenure, the Peace Center has become the cultural hub of the upstate with an estimated statewide economic impact of $90 million a year. Amazing. Megan's had a vision for the arts and the soul of Greenville arts community. In 2009, during the Great Recession, Megan spearheaded a $23 million capital campaign to renovate and expand the Peace Center campus, which currently hosts more than 360,000 patrons a year, attending over 700 events. She's grown the Peace Center's budget from $4 million to $30 million and has increased the endowment from $6.5 million to $43 million. How many of y'all can say that about your business? Today, she'll talk about the new master plan and to realize a fully functioning 10-venue arts and entertainment concept. This is going to be big. The states recognized Megan's accomplishments by awarding her the Order of the Palmetto in 2013. Please join me in welcoming Megan Rygiel to Rotary. Join me in thanking her for her passion and her love for Greenville, her business savvy, her understanding of the importance of community partnership, her belief in the arts as the heart and soul of a community, and most of all, for her friendship to me and to Greenville. Megan.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for letting me turn your agenda upside down. I really appreciate that. We have a trustee meeting today, and this meeting was scheduled way before my trustee meeting was scheduled. So anyway, I'm happy to be here and to be among you today. We are pretty excited when we think of the Peace Center that it opened in November of 1990, 33 years ago. And I will tell you, when I interviewed here 29 years ago, it was Russ Stahl's mama was one of the people I interviewed with, Betty Stahl. And Betty is one of my favorite people and has been a guide and advisor all these many years. And just Just amazing woman. And as you know, Betty is the one that was the president of the Peace Center when it was opening, and she was in every single construction meeting. I mean, this really was her baby, and she did such a brilliant job. Russell told you a little bit about the statistics that I was telling you about in terms of our annual operation, the size, being a $30 million operation today. We have a balance sheet that's well over $100 million now. So at the end of the day, it's a big business. The Peace Center is home to the biggest and most robust Broadway series in the state of South Carolina. And if you take a look at that, sort of Eastern Georgia, Western North Carolina, those are markets that we draw upon as well as throughout the state of South Carolina for many of the shows that we have. Russell mentioned that we did an economic impact study just recently. $90 million annually is what the impact we have on the state of South Carolina. So the mission, our mission is to enrich the lives of everyone we meet, everyone we reach, and we try to reach as many people as possible, as you can imagine. Our corporate philosophy is to offer patrons just a great experience, and that means whether you're on the internet or at the box office, you have front of house interaction. All of our amenities need to be outstanding. The sound system needs to be outstanding. The seating needs to be outstanding. And one of the things people forget about is backstage needs to be an amazing experience. From the service that the personnel offer in advancing shows and greeting company members and greeting artists, that is as important as anything else, because those artists need to have a great experience as well. We want them to choose us, just like you choose us. So the values, we want to be welcoming, dynamic, excellent, uniting, and transformative. And the purpose is to entertain with excellence. So we are in the business of arts and entertainment. It's when you think about arts and entertainment, sports falls into that, right? These are big economic drivers in communities wherever you go. We are all living in a world where experiences have become what is so incredibly important to all of us. I always get tickled when people want to kind of refer to us as a not-for-profit. And yes, we are a not-for-profit. That is our tax status. It's not necessarily our goal. So we always laugh when we think of our product. I mean, what a great product we have to sell. Again, we're offering all of you great experiences. So experiences that bring joy. So we're blessed that that's what we have to sell. Our patrons continue to have countless stories about the Peace Center and what they saw and what they experienced, as I'm sure many of you in this room have stories, your own personal stories that you've shared with your family and your friends. But I'm going to take just a minute, if you will indulge me a second, to remember some of the legends who've graced our stages. And this is in the past 33 years. And I'm only going to name legends who are no longer with us, right? So if any of you remember these shows, think about it. Think of these individuals: Al Hurt, Aretha Franklin, B.B. King. Yeah, we can do a little shout out. B.B. King, Bernie Mac, Billy Taylor, Bobby Short, Burt Bacharach, Carol Channing, Charlton Heston, Della Reese. Some of you young people may not remember any of these. Dixie Carter, Don Williams, Donna Summer, Dr. John, Gallagher, George Carlin, George Winston, Glenn Campbell, Gordon Lightfoot, Greg Allman, Guy Clark, Hal Holbrook, Hal Ketchum, Harry Belafonte, one of my favorites, Isaac Hayes, James Brown, Jeannie Robertson, John Prine, Johnny Cash, and June Carter Cash, Kenny Rogers, Leslie Nielsen, Little Richard, he was a handful backstage, Loretta Lynn, Marcel Marceau, Marion McPartland, Marvin Hamlish, Mel Torme, Merle Haggard, Natalie Cole, Phyllis Diller, Ramsey Lewis, Ray Charles, Red Buttons, Robin Williams, what a gentleman he was, Spalding Gray, Steve Allen, Tony Bennett, and Waylon Jennings. So I think it's really stunning to think that they were here in Greenville, South Carolina, and that they graced our stages. And especially, you have to consider our population. We're all about Greenville, right? But at the end of the day, Greenville is just not that large of a community. So we have our population today is just over 75, so almost 75,000 people. In the city, in the county, it's just under 550,000 people. But back then, the population was about 58,000 when the Peace Center opened, and the county was only 320,000. So think about it. A lot of people over the years have really credited the Peace Center as a catalyst for growth in our community. And all I know is when I walked down the street in 1994 to do my interview, and Main Street was just empty. And across from the Peace Center were kudzu fields and Grand Photo, and there was no Falls Park, and there was no baseball stadium. It was just a very different place. And today, it's like there was the fire station across the street and big open surface lots. So again, Greenville has grown all up around. The Greenville News was so very different than what is Camperdown today. But the reality is, as this growth happened in Greenville, South Carolina, and we're very proud to have been a catalyst for that growth, we rode the wave of growth, right? So as the population grew, we grew with it. So as Russell said, in 2009, we launched, such a lovely year to launch a capital campaign of this magnitude. But we increased the size of the lobby, the Grand Plaza was built, Genevieve's was created, as was the outdoor amphitheater, which before, it had been around, but it was pretty much a concrete slab with a catering tent on top. But construction was completed in 2012, and at that time, we really made a conscious decision to see just how far we could push this machine. And the amazing thing is, the more we added, the more the community consumed. So we haven't had to turn back. We try and it works, and we try something else and it works, and we try something. It's like, I know this is not going to last forever, but it's really cool being part of it right now. So I've told you a little bit about our history. So now I'm just going to take a little bit of time to talk to you about our plans for the future. Again, Russell mentioned, so in 2019, in December, actually, our board approved a new strategic vision for the Peace Center. And the primary was an overarching goal of by or before 2030, the Peace Center will realize a fully functioning 10-venue arts and entertainment campus. So I'm going to name that. So a lot of people, when they think of the Peace Center, they think, oh, the concert hall. And they don't even realize, for example, that the Gunter Theater is part of the Peace Center. So I like to think of the Peace Center as the mothership. And within the mothership, there are all these different venues. So I'm going to name them for you. There are 10. The Coach Music Factory, which the Coach Factory building we've had since the beginning of time. The Peace Center actually ran a restaurant there when it opened in 1990. It was called the Coach Factory. Shirley Road Cabaret was on the top floor. The Founders Room was on the middle floor. We ran that for years, and I might say badly. When I first came to the Peace Center, we had board meetings talking about the $100,000 a year we were losing on the Coach Factory. And it wasn't too long after that we said, well, we're in the entertainment business. We're not in the food business. Why don't we just lease this out? Enters Renee Rote. I don't know whether you remember him. He had Renee's Fish Market on Haywood, and then he came and put the steakhouse in where the Coach Factory is. When Renee got sick, he asked if Larkins could take over his lease, and we said yes. So we have the Gunter Theater, which has been since the beginning, a 400-seat theater. Concert hall's 2,100, for those who don't know, 2,100 capacity. The Huguenot Loft, So one of the great things that the founders did was they kept these old buildings and they kind of married the old with the new, which has made it just kind of extraordinary and unique. But the Huguenot Mill houses the Huguenot Loft. There was a day when we probably had three tenants in the Huguenot Mill, plus we had always had a tenant in 2 floors of the Markley building. So we were managing 5 tenants, and that was an important part of our business mix as we kind of grew our business and had a better handle on our finances and our success and what worked and what didn't work. One of the things that we did was we've let all these leases go, come to an end. And the goal with this 10-venue arts and entertainment campus was to take these venues and begin to use them all for mission-oriented purposes. So we're really excited to be at that point. But the Huguenot Loft is part of it. Literally, we had a company up there. It was time for them to move out. They did. I said to the board, can we just gut this space and try to use it as an event venue and see what happens? And it's been pretty incredible, the results. So we have the Peace Concert Hall, which you know about, the Ramser Studio, which is again part of the mill. That's used for all kinds of things. It's used for education programs. It's used for corporate retreats. It's used for, orchestras that are rehearsing for the Broadway shows coming in. They'll rehearse in there. We have the amphitheater, the Mockingbird, which is one of the new spaces, which is taking those Markley building and Gulick building and putting them together and creating a music venue. The studio, which is a podcast and recording studio, and the Weish. So those are the 10 venues that will come. So the Weish, at one point in time, I'm sure you recall reading the news, which, by the way, I don't read ever for a lot of good reasons. But the Weish, I do read the New York Times. The Weish, clearly, the powers to be did not want to see us close in that space. The hard thing about closing a space, you have to add on to it because you have all this HVAC stuff that has to be housed, and restrooms and all of that. So anyway, long story short, we redirected because that's what we do. We pivot. And so we're keeping the Weish open with beautiful gardens around it, a little bit of a river walk in the back, and really trying to put some lipstick on this beautiful open air pavilion and keep it very special for Greenville. The studio, again, the concept between the Mockingbird and the studio. The Mockingbird, we tested during COVID using Genevieve's kind of as a small listening room, and we found that people love it. People love to sit at cabaret tables, have a little drink, have a little bite to eat, and listen to music in this casual setting. We've tested jazz there. We've tested singer-songwriters in there. We've tested classical in there. People love it. They react in a way that's very different than when you're in a proscenium theater. So we're really excited about the Mockingbird. Upstairs of the Mockingbird, we're actually building 3 dorms, artist dorms, if you will. Think of Sobeys corporate apartment. So it'll be similar to that, but it'll be 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and a common area. And I'll get to that a little bit. And then across from the dorm would be the studio, where there would be an opportunity to record and podcast and educate. There's a big collaboration room in there. But the idea is that we bring artists in from, say, Nashville, and they're songwriters, and they're going to play in the Mockingbird for 2 or 3 nights. And they're going to sleep upstairs, and then they're going to record all night or, write and just create. So we'll see. It's a big idea. Nobody's really doing this. Sometimes we can because we are a not-for-profit, right? Every single thing we do doesn't have to be, well, what's the ROI on that, right? Because trust me, there's no such thing on this particular investment. But some really cool things could happen. And certainly we'll rent the studio. What will be fun is bringing kids through and teaching them engineering and mixing sound. And sound is such a big deal in all of these venues. So we're really excited to do this exploration and this experiment. One of the important things to remember about what we're doing is that it's not necessarily these venues won't be running 7 days a week, right? They're going to be running when we have the right programs to put in there. And I'm going to get to a little bit of that in a minute. So one of the things I think you all remember how hard COVID hit everybody, right? COVID hit our industry really, really, really hard. And, but, you know, we managed our way through it, which was great. And during during COVID, we renovated our entire backstage area. The artists are like, wow, this is amazing. And we renovated the front of the Huguenot Mill. And then we took that time, you know, we really said to ourselves, well, we know what we can't do, but what can we do? So we did planning. So a lot of what you've seen and heard about is a result of that planning. The 3 music venues, again, I've talked a little bit about the Mockingbird and I've talked a little bit about the studio. The Mockingbird will have capacity of about 250. The Coach Factory will have capacity of like 1,000 to 1,300. And we're upgrading 5 existing spaces. So when you think about it, again, I'm sorry you guys all have to walk through magnetometers to get to the, through the lobby today. That's just the world we live in. At least we're not wearing masks. So I would say that's okay. But we really do want to make the entry more friendly, more operationally friendly. And we found an opportunity to actually move a box office out on the street. I know that probably doesn't excite you all that much, but it really excites us from an operations point of view. Assuming we can figure out how to make this work, we would take that big box office area and make it a big open bar. But the concepts I've seen, which I've only seen in the last couple of weeks, are really beautiful, really makes that lobby much more of a beautiful space to be and much more people friendly, which again is about giving you all a great experience. The other thing that we, believe it or not, with Genevieve's being 10 years old, I mean, finishes are starting to wear. So we're looking at rejiggering Genevieve's a little bit. We've worked in there long enough to know that just the flow of operation there isn't great. So we're exploring everything from moving the bar out to the middle, creating different lines to get in and out of the kitchen, in and out of the bathrooms, things like that. So we've learned a lot of lessons. It's a really cool space, but it as it exists today doesn't function perfectly. The Huguenot, and when I talk about renovating existing buildings, again, this is the big master plan. The Huguenot, we're so excited about some things we're doing there. We want to open the ramp. So a lot of what we want to do is create something that is much more river facing, right? River activated. So we're talking about creating a terrace off the Ramsar studio, again, that faces the river. So you have this whole indoor outdoor experience on the Huguenot loft on the 2nd floor, building a deck out facing the river. And then there's a little area in the back where we would create a catering kitchen and a freight elevator. Right now, logistically, you don't even want to know what it's like to work in that space. So, but we're tackling in this master plan a lot of problems that we have with a kind of a discombobulated campus, a discombobulated 6-acre campus. And so it's a lot of really big thinking. The reality is costs have skyrocketed. The other thing that's happened, and we were just talking about this, is that the club world has changed. You know, when we started conceiving of this problem, this project, everybody's like, wow, we need a club in Greenville. We need a club in Greenville. Well, the reality is we've had 2 clubs in Greenville for a long time. One being the Blind Horse Saloon, which is capacity of 2,000 people, and it's active and busy all the time. They strictly program country music. The other one is the Radio Room, which is a smaller room, but they are actually announced plans that they're going to go into a bigger room, which is about 500. You're going to see young, hip people in those rooms, a little more cutting edge music, and people doing slam dancing. By the way, does anybody in this room know what slam dancing is? All right. Are you going to slam dance? Exactly. So we've seen video of that, and I'm like, yeah, that's not what we want to be. But the Foundry opened at Judson Mill. The Foundry is about 1,000 cap room, and they're doing a combination of promoting on their own and doing some live Nation shows. True Line is what we were talking about, which would be, as I read, a 1,700 cap room, big room, all flat floor. I think they know what they're doing in the club business. They've been there, done that, and they are very familiar with it. Not so much the Peace Center. So that's a long-winded way of saying is we are going to continue to explore this. We're going to continue to do our homework. We have begun demolition on both music venues, so everything's been gutted. And what you find when you get into old buildings is you can't be adding all this stuff without changing up the structure. So at the end of the day, all the structure is being replaced, which is, you know, it's like doing something at your house that you're just like, yeah, you can't see it, but you just spent $1 gazillion on it. It's that kind of work. But anyway, they are still scheduled to come online in mid-25. The entire master plan, which I've kind of told you about some of these work we're doing in some of the other spaces, is now estimated to be upwards of $65 million. The one we announced was 36 million a year ago. But that was just the 2 music venues. But long story short, we're in the process of reviewing every single detail. And the one thing I left out is one of the things that we really want to do on the campus and on the grounds, particularly along the river, is we want to make them so people-friendly and so much a part, almost like a continuation of Falls Park. So we want people to come there and hang out, whether or not they're coming to see a show. Okay, so while it's very exciting to renovate these buildings and to take great care of our properties, the most important thing for us to remember is what we're putting in those buildings. So I talk about the buildings are kind of like the body, and you know we want them to be buff and beautiful, but the reality is the programs are our soul, and it's the soul that people come to see. So I really believe that it's the cultural and entertainment programs that draw people. And the last thing in the world we want to be is a bar with a band. So our programs need to and must be curated constantly, and we must continue to keep an eye to excellence in all that we do. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take those. Okay, so thank you very much for bringing up the worst week of my life. Truly, you know, Oklahoma was just such a nightmare. I don't like if I could have closed it before it opened, I would have. It was truly the worst. I had more complaints in 1 week than I have had in the entire 29 years I've been in the Peace Center. And you know what? I had to say I agree. It was awful on every level. Yes. The end of the day, so there's a difference between presenting and producing. The Greenville Symphony is a producing organization. The Warehouse Theater is a producing organization. The Center Stage is a producing organization. The Peace Center is a presenting organization. And we work with agents, and the agents have a roster of shows that are touring in that particular year. And, you know, you book 18 months to 2 years in advance. By the way, Oklahoma on Broadway was very different than Oklahoma on the road. It was on a thrust stage. It was incredibly weird, but so weird it was slightly wonderful. It did not translate to a proscenium stage. So 1776, I was at a luncheon with my colleagues in New York, and this wonderful director who has had incredible successes pitched this idea. But somehow during COVID, when they're doing their show over Zoom and, you know, auditioning people, it like took a turn. You know, it's one thing to say, oh, it's going to be maybe an all-female cast. Well, that's interesting. And that could be. Anyway, long story short, I believe that the artists missed on that show. But the reality is sometimes it's hit and miss. You don't know what you're getting. Many times the road shows, like a Six that's in this week, which people are loving, like Wicked, the quality and the standard on the road is as high as what it would be in New York. And let me tell you, you go to New York and see a show again and again, sometimes those guys just look tired because they do the same thing day in and day out. You go on the road, a lot of times it's fresher and more exciting because they're at a new venue. You know, it's changing up. So there's an excitement and an energy sometimes that you miss in a sleepy show in New York. But long story short, you know, there's this many shows we get to choose from, and we do, and usually we choose right, but sometimes you make a bad mistake. And all of my colleagues are saying the same thing. We're just like, oh my God. So it's interesting. Spartanburg, you know, I love Roger Newton. You know, he ran the well for years, back when it was the Bilo Center. He's a great guy. We met over wine. I knew what he was up to. And plus, the guy who's got booking it is one of my colleagues that I see on the road a couple times a year. So the Niederlander organization is the one that is bringing those shows in and booking those shows. They are one-night shows. They are bus and truck shows. They will be non-equity shows. 9 times out of 10, or 9.9% of the time, we are doing equity shows. They know I don't want to do the non-equity shows. So an equity show is going to be 8 performances in a week. A non-equity show is going to be your one-nighters. So that's what we're doing. There are always going to be shows 9 times out of 10, again, that we've done before. So I think it's fine. I think it's great for that community. I love that they're really using that venue, and they're doing a good job. And frankly, they're doing a great job. He's programming fair amount of what country shows, which is great, and he's getting some good ones. So I think I mentioned earlier, increased competition. When Roger took over, I went, because they've been really sleepy over there. But I was like, yeah, he's cranking it up, and he knows the business. And I met one of his programmers. So yeah, I wish them the best. They're gonna do great. And yes, we're gonna be competing for product. So not Broadway though. I'm not worried about the Broadway piece. All over the place. Yeah, they have somebody like a third party that helps them find where to stay. But then some of the actors, with the world we live in today, with Airbnbs and things like that, you know, they kind of peel off and do it. So usually there's like 2 or 3 places that we will be. Some people want to be in a place where there's a kitchen, for example. Other people don't. We bring a lot of people here to the West End. So these third parties go and they negotiate with the hotels. And you know, these guys are on the road. They get a per diem. They're all very sensitive about what they spend when they're on the road. Right. Chances are we won't. The reason is, first of all, they became very expensive. And by the way, this is almost a trend across the country in all of us who present Broadway shows. Our subscription bases have grown to be so big that we can't accommodate the people. Like we're accommodating maybe, let's say, 1,500 people, so 750 households as opposed to 4,500 households. And it's a lot. And then, especially coming off of COVID, remember, it was just until maybe the last 6 months that we weren't testing every person that came in off the road. So anybody that was flying in, these were typically people from the cast, right? But you know, all those COVID protocols and everything just kind of meant, oh, we don't want to do this anymore. So it's like anything else. That thing grew and grew and grew, and it kind of got too big. And so COVID gave everybody a reason to shut it down. It hasn't affected our sales or anything. It was a lovely night. That was a wonderful way to connect with the people that were there. And that's the piece I miss more than anything, is that connection. So I don't think we'll bring it back, but you never know. Any other questions? Thank you for being wonderful supporters of the Peace Center. We could not do what we do if it were not the community that says, yes, we want this. So thank you.
Okay, that was wonderful. Thank you, Megan, as you're leaving. And she did already sign the book for Alexander Elementary School. So we've got that taken care of, and we're going to go back to the top now and actually introduce our guests and visiting Rotarians. Matthew.
This is the first for me. So we have Kevin McConkey here today, Yashu Raghunathan, Stacy Lamonaco, Dylan Jackson, Doc Giddings visiting from the Pickens Club, Claire Pinwell, guest of Sherry Pinwell, and then Sam Blumen, guest of Marty Elliott. Welcome. Oh, I missed one. And then Richard Suavez? Yes, sorry about that.
I have some news. Since we got together, I'm here talking about CART, the Coins for Alzheimer's Research Trust. And earlier this month, the first Alzheimer's drug to slow the disease, called Leqembi, got full FDA approval. The drug is expected to be priced at around $2,200 a month for a typical treatment without insurance. The heads of the Center of Medicare and Medicaid have already pledged to cover the medication broadly while continuing to gather data. And a decision was made to make it affordable for many. For those patients in the early stages of dementia and Alzheimer's, the drug is not a cure. It removes plaque that has already formed and prevents plaque from forming. It does not stop it from getting worse, but it does measurably slow down the disease. So your efforts with CART is showing some more fruit. CART helps you battle this disease, everyone here, and for your family. So put your pocket cash in the blue bucket. When you do it, it is matched by a club member. So we make sure we make sure that you get to know that person better. And this time, our match member is our own Jim Purrier, who is our CART chairperson. Now, by way of an introduction, Jim earned a BS and then a master's at Mississippi State University, then a PhD at Florida State. And before he was retired, he was a college administrator, vice president for students at the Medical College of Georgia in Augusta for 30 years. He moved to Greenville 8 years ago, was district governor of District 6920 over there in Georgia. And then at the turn of the millennia, he served as vice president for research for CART for 8 years. So we are glad to have him aboard. He and his wife, Joan, live at the Woodlands Retirement up at Furman. Joan is also a member of this club and is a retired dean from the Augusta Technical College, and she earned her doctorate from the University of Georgia. And I'm sitting here thinking, he was president of students at the University of Georgia, and he started dating a girl who was going for her PhD. I don't want to know the whole story. Yeah. He's got 3 sons. JJ is a former Rotarian here with us at the Atticus Communication, 5 grandkids, and he likes to golf and travel. So ask him where he's been and how he's been teeing off up at Furman. So make Jim pay. Every dollar you put in a bucket, every scan that you put here, and would you hold that bucket up a second, please? Look at the size of the scan on that thing. That's like a Costco scan. You don't put 50 bucks in that one. If you put 100 bucks in, he's got to match it. Or if you really don't want to ding Jim, our past president is going to be the match member next month, and I'll have more about Wade then. Take care.
It is my second duty today to introduce to you someone you already know, Ana Abunajim, who is our now 2 years on Service Above Self Scholar. And we're having a little USC alumni meeting in Rotary over here because our newest scholar, Yashu, who will be starting at Carolina, is also with us today. Lana, come talk to us about what you've been doing.
Good afternoon. It is with great honor and gratitude that I stand before you today as the recipient of the 2021 Service Above Self Scholarship. I am truly honored and humbled by this recognition, and I would like to extend my heartfelt appreciation to each and every one of you for accepting me into this community and allowing me this prestigious honor. From the moment I learned about the Rotary Club's commitment to service, I knew I had found a community that aligned perfectly with my own values and passions. The motto, Service Above Self, became a guiding principle of my life and inspired me to make meaningful impact on the world around me. Over the past year, I have had the privilege of engaging in many service projects within my community here in Greenville, as well as in Columbia. One of the most rewarding service projects I have been a part of was the hijab booth for World Hijab Day. After having to put a pause on this project for a few years due to COVID, the Young Muslims group was finally able to set up a hijab booth in downtown Greenville again. This year, we also had the pleasure of extending the booths to Columbia, my college, and the Clemson University campus. At the booths, we provided hijabs to try on, English translated Qur'ans, and answered questions people had about the hijab or Islam. This was such an inspiring project to be a part of because I got to share something so meaningful to me with the community I lived in, and we got to break stereotypes. In another project called the Hero Hustle 5K, I was able to help runners finish a 5K. Me and a few other volunteers went out and set up cones for the runners, as well as making posters to help cheer them on during the run. We also set up water stands to keep them hydrated during their run. We also had the pleasure of awarding the runners with certificates and badges after completing the race. This was such a fun service project to be a part of, and it was so amazing to see the community come together and help so many people achieve their goal while also celebrating them. Additionally, I had the privilege of volunteering again with the restaurant Habiba's at the Fall for Greenville event. I volunteered at the booth and helped set it up and take it down. I also helped refill food samples and collect tickets while also teaching people about traditional Mediterranean foods offered at the restaurant. It was an amazing service project, and I got to meet so many people within the Greenville community and talk to a lot of different organizations at the event. These have just been a few of the service projects I have had the pleasure of working on this year. A few more include hosting a Ramadan iftar through our Muslim Association group, tabling for clubs I'm involved in like OCD Club and Arab Student Association, and volunteering at my local mosque. These experiences have taught me that service is not merely a one-time event, but a way of life, a continuous journey of selfless giving, learning, and growth. The Rotary Club has been instrumental in shaping my commitment to service and providing me with opportunities to collaborate with like-minded individuals and empowering me to be a catalyst for positive change. Before I conclude, I would like to express my deepest appreciation to my family, friends, the Rotary Club, and my mentors who have supported me and encouraged me throughout this journey. Without the Rotary Club, I would not be the person I am today, and I would not have had all these amazing opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving us that update, Lana. Excuse me. Okay, so no, you're not going to be taking pictures now, Amy. It's your turn to come up. So now we're going to take a moment for membership and PR, and Penny Robbins is our chair for the membership committee. Come on up. And Amy Randall is the chair for PR, and they're just going to discuss a few things with you.
Again, I'm Penny Robbins, and I'll be your membership chair for the next 12 months. You're mine. What I want to talk about today, and we've talked about it many, many times, but we do have some new people in the room, is Discover Rotary. When I first heard the acronym DR, I went, Dominican Republic, what are we talking about the Dominican Republic for? So anyway, Discover Rotary. This is the first step that an interested person or a new candidate is going to experience coming into Rotary. Terry calls it Rotary 101. You can think of it as a college class. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to get a little bit of a review of what you're going to be taking for the next 3 to 6 months as a class, and you get to hear it ahead of the time. And this is what Terry is, an extraordinarily good presenter, the history, the why, the how, the what of Rotary, and why we're all so passionate about it. So first I want to see raise your hand. Who's been to Discover Rotary? That's good. What seasoned veterans that we have out here have been to Rotary in the last, or into the Discover Rotary in the last year or last 2 years? Okay. It's really, really a good idea to even get a refresher. But what we want to do now is we want to make sure that we're broadening our bench and that we're bringing in the right people to help share our passion and to service our projects. So the higher chance that we have of bringing in a friend or colleague is better for us to build our bandwidth and to better to serve our community. So please make sure you look at the white card. There's a white card and then there's a yellow and a blue card too. I think they all have the same information. Take one of those, put it in your pocket now. And if you run into anybody in the elevator or at your church or your workout or whatever, make sure that you hand them that and invite them to Discover Rotary and attend with them. It's really important. But the information that Terry can provide is amazing, and it all makes sense when you come back into this room the next time. This is why we do what we do as Rotarians, is because we have Discover Rotary. I was in Rotary 9 years, and I went to Terry's presentation, and I didn't know some things. I feel I'm guilty as charged. So we can all still learn. We can all still update our elevator speech for new members that are coming in. But make sure you are on the lookout for really quality people to come in here and help us do our work that is so important to our community. So it's called Giving the Gift of Rotary. Give the gift of Discover Rotary and bring them in, and we'll do the rest. So thank you.
Hello, friends. I am Amy Randall, and I am your PR chair for the year. So I have a favor to ask already. Our PR budget is about yay big, and social media is free. So I need everybody in this room, the next time you go check your status update, make sure you are following the Rotary Club of Greenville. We are on LinkedIn, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. I have a wonderful partner in crime. Where is Alex hiding out here? Alex Dorst, please stand up so everybody can see who you are. Alex has been wonderful in helping on social media. He is going to be posting all of our upcoming events. So you can get on Facebook. There will be events posted, even for Discover Rotary. So most important thing, once you have followed us, I appreciate the likes, but what I really need are comments and shares. With the algorithms out there, nobody's going to see anything about us if you don't comment and share. I actually shared the Rotary Club's post yesterday, and now I have a friend who will be coming in August to Discover Rotary and having lunch. So we want to definitely grow. We want to get the word out there. My second ask is, although you all know I'm a photographer, I can't be everywhere taking all the pictures. So I need content for our social media. If you are out in the world doing a volunteer project, at our Thirsty Thursdays, having coffee with another Rotarian, please get out your phone and take some pictures. Email them to me. I'm in DACDB. You can send them to Amy at amyrandallphotography.com. And we're going to have a little contest. So whoever, I love it. Somebody's taking a picture right now. Whoever sends me the largest quality of high quality photos this Rotary year, at the end of the year, will win a free headshot session with yours truly. I don't know if any of you have looked at DACDB, but there's a couple of you out there who need a new headshot. So get out there, take some pictures, comment, share, and let's give everybody a little bit more love in the world. Let people know what we're all about. Send those photos of Rotarians in action. And when you post, hashtag Rotary Club of Greenville. And I also like the hashtag service above self. So thanks so much, everybody. Oh, one more tiny note. If you are not comfortable with social media and you need help getting an account, posting, sharing, doing any of the things, come see me after the meeting. I can meet before a meeting, and Alex is kind enough to help as well. So just let us know.
Thank you, Penny and Amy. Okay, so with our last 5 minutes will be our soft closing. So I will close us out after a few more announcements, just some of these dates that you need to pay attention to that are on your table on the agenda. But in case you didn't bring your glasses and you can't see it, I'll go through them. We have August 3rd, Thirsty Thursday. August 8th is our next speaker, Andrea Smith from Senior Action. And there's a few volunteer opportunities there. Then they have the really big book sale with Greenville Literacy. And of course, Kringle Holiday Village is coming up. And if you will stand, please. And after I close this out, take a minute at your table since we're 3 minutes left and our normal soft opening is 5 minutes, and say hi to somebody you don't know. And instead of maybe discussing those plays you didn't like, David, tell them which one you did like. Okay, of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Meeting adjourned.